What's up guys, today we are gonna do a very different video from usual. We are gonna actually be doing a PvP tier list video. So this tier list is actually gonna be covering RTA, normal arena and guild war. So basically every sort of PvP content we have in the game currently. So as per usual, compared to other tier lists, this is the same. So S being the best and D being the worst. Yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So for our S tier, we have Mod, Genua and Politics. This is by no means any ranking. So basically Mod, Genua and Poly, I would say I'll rank them in the same tier. Mod is a really strong unit for PvP, especially new players if you have trouble doing guild war or normal arena, because there are a lot of units in guild war defenses or arena defenses that really rely on the counter attacking to mess up your whole team as an offense, right? So Mod is there to actually just block all the counter attacks, and he also dishes out a lot of damage. And being an RGB unit, he is like one of the strongest out there currently in the meta, and also you can choose him as a plus 15, right? So I would recommend him to be chosen as a plus 15 character instead of like a normal RGB, a 5-star that is starting at natural 5, because his skills really require all of them to be at max. So after Mod, we have Genua, who is basically also one of the best RGB right now. He just does a lot of damage as well, and his skill kit being able to have another life with his immortality also makes him way better compared to the other S. So he can be used in like RTA, arena and guild war together with Mod, right? Because this unit is really used in a lot of areas as well. And last but not least, for our S tier, we have Politics. This unit is too unique, right? This unit is too unique. She was the first character that blocks, okay, not block, she halves the CR combat readiness push from the whole enemy team. So she is very strong in the meta right now, alongside with Yufin, right? Abyssal Yufin. They are the only two characters that can block CR. So I would say if you don't have her already, you can pick her. And if you already have her, I would still recommend a second Politics if you can afford to build to have the stats on her, because one can be used for a damage Politics with like Target Health, and then another can be used as a degen Politics to block cleavers with like Abyssal Crown, right? And then you just build them both like really fast so that they can cut and do what they need to do. And moving on to A tier, we have Lidica, Blue Crow, Fanny, Celine, Vildred, and Eligos, right? This is also by no means in any order, but let's start with Lidica. So Lidica right now is one of the best openers in everywhere, I would say. Everywhere in the PvP scene, especially RTA, right? So if you are looking to go and play RTA, I would recommend Lidica for sure. But if you don't want to play a speed meta, a turn 1 cleave meta, then maybe you can avoid this character for now. Lidica is definitely up there still for sure, because she just does a lot of things for her team. I won't go too detailed into a kit, but I would recommend Lidica as a normal selector. I wouldn't really recommend as a plus 15 one yet, because she doesn't really need her damage in her kit. It's really nice to have, but she doesn't need it, right? All she needs is the minus 1 turn cooldown in her kit, and that's about it. And as you can see, if you watch my games at my Twitch streams and my previous videos, I think Lidica is like most of the time over there as well. She's just that strong. If you're worried about her artifacts, you can just go Renewed Will or Guiding Light. I know for some new players, Guiding Light is a bit hard to get right now because they don't rerun any special limited artifact group summons, but you can just grab her for now, right? Because she's still one of the best options without Guiding Light still. And then moving on to Blue Cloud, this unit, holy. This unit has been around since almost the start of epicseven, or since the start of epicseven, I don't really remember, and it's still good up to this day. He did get one buff though along the way, but all he needed was one buff to stay relevant, right? He's still one of the best mitigation in the game, even though he can be countered quite easily by injuries. But as a RGB knight, I think he's one of the best, if not the best mitigator as a RGB knight. So definitely recommended if you're looking to pick up a knight, a tank for your team, right? He can be used to bait green units, right? Green DPS. And then moving on, we have Fanny. Fanny is honestly not the best in PvP, but because of her usage in like everywhere else, in like PvE, I know this is a PvP tier list, but I had to bring in the PvE side of Fanny because she's just too much value. She delivers too much for a player, right? So even if you can't really pick her in PvP that much, she is still too good to miss for a Selector. Definitely the decked out Selector though, the plus 15 one. But however, in PvP, I would say you can use her against any injury like DDR, Death Dealer Ray, or Urban Shadow Shoe. She's really good into those units, and she still does a lot of damage as well. So basically, any injury unit you face in RTA, Arena, Guild War, she's really a really good unit there. And then moving on, we have Green Celine. Green Celine is, honestly, she is alright. I wouldn't say she's crazy good or anything, but when she works, she is like the best unit for her position, if you know what I mean. One of the best DPSs to counter any non-attack openers, right? Stuff like ML Poly, stuff like Frida, stuff like Armid even, right? With Armid Cleave running super well in the RTA right now, in the RTA meta right now, building a fast Green Celine is actually one of the counters to the Armid Cleave as well. And also she can be used in like Arena and Guild War, right? There's a lot of non-attack skills there as well. So Celine is definitely a good unit to pick up as well. So moving on, we have Green Wildred. This guy is also basically the same as Blue Crow. For some reason, he is still like a viable unit, a relevant unit into this meta. But honestly, it's just because of his imprint, right? He's one of the best speed imprints in the game. Being a 5-star and at 12 plus 12 speed imprint, he also does a lot of damage, right? And has a self-breach in his own kit. And if you saw my game in E7WC, the only reason why I picked Wildred there in that one game is because of the speed imprint. That's basically it. Like if he doesn't have the speed imprint, he actually... I would just pick like someone else, right? So if you don't really have Wildred, I would say it's a good unit to pick up as one of the first few DPS in your game, in your epicseven career. But if you're looking for a speed imprint other than 4 stars, Wildred is of course one of the best units to take from this Selector as well. Okay, moving on from Wildred, we have Eligos. Eligos, it's compared to the other openers, I would say in this whole tier list, I would say Eligos is probably the second or third best after Lidica. We have Run and Pera still, but we'll get to that later. I would say Eligos is still one of the best because he has a free Guiding Light, a free Stealth turn 1, right, which is huge. And he also has a really good passive with increased hit chance along with his S3, resource reduction. It's a really good counter into players who like to play flank or any evasion units, right, like Aidins and stuff. And speaking of Aidin, there are many Aidins in Guild War defenses and Arena because evasion is one of the best ways to mess up the RNG, right, in the fight. So Eligos is also one of the best units to pick up right now. And whether to pick him up as a plus 15 decked out Selector or a normal Selector, I would say both is fine. If you need the plus 15 Selector for one of the other characters here, the normal Selector is also fine. Because honestly, I would say the S3 is the most important skill up, followed by the S2. And then moving on, we have B tier. I know the B tier seems to be like in the middle tier, right? Like it's not very good, but it's honestly still pickable. Like they are still good, but not in every scenario compared to the S and A tier, right? Like these units, you'll probably see them in like 1 in every 10 fights. These units here, they are still seen, but probably more rare, right? Probably 1 in like 30 games or something. So for B tier, we have Pera, Run, Knuckle, Snail, Roana, Arya, Ida, Kisei, Wukong, and Elvira. So as you all know, Run and Pera were 2 of the best openers in the game last time, right? So with their super high base speed, they are still really good openers right now, especially in Guild War and Arena. Not really in RTA because the way you play them is not very... I mean, the way they open up in RTA is not very strong compared to the other openers. So I wouldn't recommend them right now for RTA, but for Arena and Guild War, they are still definitely playable. But of course, if you want to play them, you need to have speed, right? That's the only issue. As a new player, you might not be able to have speed to play these characters, but eventually, if you reach like mid game or late game, they are definitely characters you want to have in your inventory. And then moving on, we have Knuckle. Knuckle is still a really good unit right now, but she's usually on a 4-5 for RTA, right? In Arena, you need to pick her with a book and make sure you can take the first turn. So you only can pick her into a slow defense team without Hasedi, of course, because Hasedi is just gonna mess up your tuning. So you have to pick her into like a slow comp and make sure you have a book as well, because one of her weakness is that she might not land all her debuffs on her S3 without a Soban, right? So that's one of the key points. But yeah, if Nako manages to get through and deliver in your team, she is gonna be really strong for sure. And then moving on from Nako, we have Snail. Snail is one of the best characters to pick out of these whole selectors actually, if you don't already have the first two rows of characters, because he is one of the two only counters to DDR, right? Death Dealer Ray. And Death Dealer Ray being a really OP unit right now, still in the meta, Snail is one of the best counters to DDR, especially if you're a turn 2 player. If you're a turn 1 player, if you want to aggro them down, you can play Sharon, right? Sharon is still okay, but as a turn 2 player, Snail is the best. It's the best counter to DDR. Alright, and then moving on with Roana. Roana, she should does a thing ever since she came out. She counters a lot of extra attack, counter attack units, so she is still her, right? She is still her. She remains at the B tier for now. And moving on with Arya, we have Blue Arya. This character, I will only highly recommend for turn 2 players. If you plan to go aggressive or cleave, I would say you most likely wouldn't need this character at all, right? Because she does absolutely nothing for aggro and cleave comp. But if you're a turn 2 player, she is actually really good because she basically acts like a ticking time bomb if they don't have many AoEs in their team, right? So let's say you were to face 3 single target enemies in their team comp. Arya is there to just lock down your team, become the main target, and basically just dish out a lot of damage, right? So Arya is one of the best for turn 2. And then moving on, we have Ida. We have Blue Ida. Honestly, Blue Ida, if you are... You should only pick Blue Ida if you're an aggro or cleave player, right? Because she only works there. As a turn 2 player, she's basically useless. So if you are a cleave aggro player and you already have the rest of these units up here, Blue Ida is one of the options to pick. And then moving on with Blue Kisei. Blue Kisei is honestly the same rank as Green Ludwig, but I only moved her up 1 tier because she can build as a speed DPS as well. You don't need to play her with Amit. It's not necessary, right? So that's why she's 1 tier above Green Ludwig. But yeah, she's a really strong DPS overall. She does a lot of damage. Currently, she's the best play in the Armin setup. Full damage at like not so fast speed, basically about 170 to 190 speed. But yeah, Kisei is still a really strong unit right now. And moving on, we have Wukong. This unit was really good in his area of expertise last time, which is basically Rift. But now that Rift is over for him, his only role in a PvP, I would say, is to tank strays, right? So, like I said just now, Amit Cliff is running very well recently, so there's a lot of cleavers who like to pick Amit plus strays, right? And strays targets the highest HP character in your team, and also defense penetrates them. And since Wukong has like a 70% defense penetration resistance, Wukong is built like with the most HP to tank the strays, right? So you can build him in that way if you are having any problems versus Amit strays. But if not, he's still a generally decent character. But he's a very niche bruiser in most of the times because there are just other DPSs, other bruisers that does way more than him. So, and last but not least, you have Elvira. Elvira is a very specific character, I would say. Like, you wouldn't even pick her that much, but when you pick her, she's like one of the best because she is also very unique, right? Like Politis and Yufin, she basically negates all fighting spirit from the characters in the enemy team. So whenever you face stuff like Zio Teiyu or stuff like Dilibat Yufin on their team, I think Elvira is one of the best characters to counter them because it just blocks their whole fighting spirit. They won't be able to function without their fighting spirit, right? But yeah, in terms of PvP, she is only PvP oriented. You don't have to think about PvE when you want to select Elvira. And that's it for the B tier, right? And I would like to say last but not least, the C tier, because D tier is absolutely useless for PvP. But yeah, we have the C tier, right? I'm gonna break this down real quick because I feel like I've been yapping too much about the top 3. So, but yeah, Green Ludwig, as I said, Amit Cleave, right? Amit Cleave, he's one of the best DPSs to pair with Amit as well. But the only issue is stuff like Politis and Yufin. They might block your CR push and you might not cut. And then we have Blue Elena. Blue Elena is still okay against some PvP units. Against AoE damage dealers, she's really good. But against stuff like Lidica, she's an okay-ish unit because you need to make sure you land a 50-50, right? If you get hit by Lidica and you get binded, then she's useless. But if she misses from Lidica, then she's a really good counter to Lidica. And then moving on with Abigail. Abigail, not really played that much, but her passive does save some people from cleavers sometimes, right? Like if you are facing cleavers with raw damage, she serves as a budget ML Senya sometimes, right? Because it gives immortality to the backline. So if the enemy doesn't have any debuffers to block the immortality, I think she is a really good, decent pick as an anti-cleave. Anyway, Zaha. For Zaha, I wouldn't recommend for Arena or RTA. I only recommend him for Guild War, right? Because Guild War defenses are mainly consisted of Hasedi and like Aidins and stuff, right? So whenever you see like a Hasedi with an Aidin in their defense, you can just go like Young Senya plus Zaha and that team is settled, right? The team is cleared. And then we have Yuha. Yuha is good in Guild War. I don't know about Arena RTA. I don't think she's very good in Arena RTA, but for Guild War, she's a really good unit to bait S flan, right? Afternoon Soak flan. She's a really good bait. She can just bait all the damage and then just throw it back at one of their units and kill it instantly. And then with Alencia. Alencia, like I said, I didn't even say shit. And then with Alencia, who works basically the same as Zahak in this Guild War meta. But instead of against evasion units, she's just there to like be the pair with Young Senya, right? Because she does a lot of damage, she has high HP, she can put up defense buff, she can strip, defense break, stuff like that. And then now we have Araminta. Araminta is still decent in RTA and Arena, but she has a lot of counters. So whenever you face units that don't counter her, I think she's a really good pick. But counters being like resistance unit, right? Resistance, Balian, which block target health, block souls, Politis, Yufin that blocks CR push. But yeah, stuff like that. Dilibat that blocks debuffs. But yeah, most of the time, her ML counterpart, Silverblade Araminta, is better in her slot. But if there are no counters to her kit, then I would say Araminta is still a pretty decent pick. And then moving on, we have Destina. Destina, I would say, is still decent in Guild War. Arena and RTA, probably not, right? Probably not. She's only decent in Guild War because she can be played with Arya and Christie. So from what I can see, most people actually play Destina, Christie, and Arya in many of their Guild War offense comps. It is a really boring and slow comp, but it's like one of the highest win rates out there as a Guild War offense comp. So you can think about picking Destina if you already have Arya and Christie. She's probably the best unit to pair with Arya and Christie. And then moving on, we have Bihu. Bihu is kinda niche as well. I would say it's something like Araminta. I would say his state is something like Araminta in the meta right now. You have to build him like high speed, high effectiveness, right? And he has way too many counters. And there are other units that does so way better than him. But if you don't have any other options to choose from, Bihu is still a decent unit to pick up from. And after Bihu, these remaining units are very niche as well. Like, okay, I'm just gonna break it down real quick. Blue Lua, not really meta anymore. Red Lilias, she is a good counter to Armid. If you build a high effectiveness Lilias, she can provoke Armid after her S2 extra turn. Other than that, she's not really used anymore. Maybe if you face a Blue Lua, you can pick Fire Lilias with the mod artifact so that she can reduce the reset, right? She can block the reset. But these two units are not really seen anymore. Red Lilias is also actually used sometimes in Guild War defense with Hasedi and BBK. Because she actually does a lot of damage when she has DPS as an ally, right? Because she borrows the attack from the DPS. But yeah, other than that, not really that good. Violet, she was strong last time. But now, if I were to bring him in any PvP scenario, I would say maybe a best of 5 game. And there's no such thing as best of 5 in a normal RT and PvP, right? So Violet kind of fell off. We have Blue Teiyu. Very situational, I would say, into non-contact openers, basically like ML Poly, right? ML Poly. I think the only place he can be picked to is ML Poly. Other than that, he's kind of useless. Green Yufin. He is a decent bridge for like Zero Cleave or any Cleave. They're just way better DPS options other than Yufin because she requires a lot of stats to do damage and also a high speed to be bridged to, right? So I wouldn't recommend Yufin as a bridge for your Cleave. If you really want like a bridge for your Cleave, I would just recommend Ida or something, right? And then we have Red Huayang. She was good last time, but her legs got cut off. She still does decent damage against tanks, but most of the time, like all these other units, there are better units that does the job. And last but not least, we have Fire Ravi. This Fire Ravi unit What should I say about this girl? Honestly, for Fire Ravi, if you want to pick her, you can pick her if you like her, but PvP wise, she's probably just useless. I think the only place where you can pick her is into like a lot of green units, maybe like Alencia, Young Senya, Albedo, stuff like that. But you probably rarely see them in the RTA and Arena anyways. She's just a decent bruiser against those units, but other than that, she's useless like everywhere else. And then for the D tier, all these units are probably not worth going through because they are really useless in RTA. But now I'm gonna go through everything again because of imprints, right? So this is gonna be real quick. I'm just gonna tell you which are the units to pick for imprints if you already have everything. So mod, crit chance imprint, definitely. If you want a imprint, this is good. Genua, crit chance imprint, good. Polities, not recommended. You just need 2 polities. 1 Legion, 1 DPS if you want to. Lyrica, not needed. Crowd HP, decent, right? Decent. Fanny, not needed. Celine is good for Spirit Eye Celine. It's a crit chance imprint, really good. Visual imprint, speed imprint, one of the best up here. I would say visual imprint is the most important out of the rest, right? Eligo's not important, Pira not important, Run not important, Knuckle not important, all this not important. Ruana, nah, not important. All these are so far not important. Ludwig for ML Ludwig is also pretty good. Oh, Yufin for ML Yufin imprint is also pretty good because ML Yufin is one of the best characters out there right now. Tywin, no. Boss Arunka, you can pick Arunka for ML Arunka imprint. It's also a pretty good choice. Cecilia for FCC imprint is also pretty decent. You can pick Fire Semia for Lionheart Semia as well because Lionheart Semia is getting buffed soon. And she has a Create imprint as well, right? So this is really good. You could consider Semia for an imprint if you don't already have. Ilinef imprint for ML Ilinef is also pretty decent. Who else? The imprints all suck, man. Ray for DDR imprint is also not too bad, but probably not one of the priorities. Last but not least, maybe Vivian, right? Vivian for Sylvan Sage Vivian imprint is also pretty good. Sylvan Sage Vivian is currently in a decent spot in RTA as a DPS, so I would say Vivian is not too bad, but probably compared to the rest, she's probably like one of the least priorities. But yeah, I think that concludes my tier list for now. I don't think I missed anyone out because all of these are limited. You can only choose units up to Crow and Robin, right? The Crow and Robin is not included here. Hopefully I covered most of the PvP related stuff for these RGB units. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below or just ask me in my Twitch or my Discord, right? All the links are in the description below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though it's a new type of video that I have not done in my channel. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.